After hearing the full account of the incident from the mayor, the Raging Wind Corps had decided to split into two separate teams. It had been agreed that dividing their personnel would allow them to investigate the city of Porban more efficiently. By covering more ground at the same time, they would increase their chances of uncovering useful clues regarding the mysterious disappearances. The decision had been made carefully, taking into account both the urgency of the situation and the risks involved. As part of this arrangement, Rayon had moved toward a less crowded area of the city. Dorian, who had been following closely behind, called out to the young master with visible confusion. He questioned why Rayon had chosen to come to such a narrow and dimly lit back alley. It was clearly not part of the area they had been assigned to investigate, and from what he had observed, most of the others were currently searching around the main square. He asked whether Rayon truly believed they could obtain any useful information in a place like this. Rayon replied, explaining that the more obvious locations, such as the square, would already be handled effectively by Martha and Ben. He pointed out that those areas would attract attention due to their visibility, making them suitable for straightforward investigation. However, he added that if all of them were to move together as a group during reconnaissance, they would inevitably stand out, which could hinder their ability to gather information discreetly. Dorian listened carefully, before nodding in agreement, acknowledging the reasoning behind Rayon's approach. Rayon then added that, more importantly, when it came to gathering information of this nature, one needed to focus on what lay beneath the surface rather than what was visible above. He recalled the details shared by the mayor, noting that the number of missing individuals had already reached into the hundreds within a very short period. Among those who had vanished were individuals who had reached the upper expert level, making the situation even more alarming. What stood out most was the peculiar nature of these disappearances. Not a single belonging had been left behind, nor had any signs of struggle been discovered. It was as if the victims themselves had simply been erased without a trace. From this, Rayon concluded that the incident was unlikely to be an ordinary case. He reasoned that it likely involved one of the 5 demons, as such phenomena were far beyond the capabilities of common criminals. Among the possible suspects, he believed that the White Blood Cult had the highest probability of being involved, given the nature of the disappearances. After a brief pause, Dorian admitted that he felt uneasy about not traveling together with the rest of the group. He mentioned that having their companions nearby would have been reassuring, especially given the dangerous nature of the situation. He asked Rayon whether he did not feel the same way. In response, Rayon remarked bluntly that after what had happened earlier, knocking out Morel's disciple and leaving the princess in such a state, it was unlikely that those individuals would be willing to cooperate closely with him. His tone suggested that he had already anticipated such a reaction. As the conversation continued, Rayon suddenly recalled the earlier confrontation and questioned what had happened to Anild and the princess afterward. Dorian replied that both of them were currently resting in the infirmary. He explained that Anild had suffered from the impact of the blow, while the princess was still bedridden due to the overwhelming aura Rayon had released earlier. The memory of that moment lingered in Dorian's mind, as it had been far more intense than anything he had expected. Rayon then shifted the topic slightly, asking whether proper security measures had been put in place. Dorian responded that while there were no guards stationed directly outside, powerful detection magic had been set up around the area. According to him, the moment any intruder approached, alarm signals would immediately be triggered, ensuring that any threat could be identified without delay. He then questioned why Rayon had brought up such a concern in the first place. Rayon dismissed the question casually, stating that it was nothing significant and that he had merely been asking as a precaution. However, Dorian was not entirely convinced. He pressed further, insisting that Rayon should explain his reasoning more clearly rather than brushing it aside. Before the discussion could continue further, they arrived at their destination. Dorian looked up and immediately recognized the building in front of them. It was a casino, situated discreetly within the back alley. His confusion deepened as he questioned why they had come to such a place. Rayon replied without hesitation, explaining that a business of that size operating in such a secluded location could not exist without strong backing. It was likely supported either by a powerful organization or maintained through an agreement with the mayor himself. He added that casinos were known to attract a wide range of individuals, including those involved in less than legal activities. Such environments often became hubs for information exchange, whether intentional or not. For that reason, he believed that there was a high chance of uncovering something useful inside. Dorian appeared surprised by this line of reasoning. He pointed out that even if there was valuable information within, they could not simply interrogate everyone present without drawing attention to themselves. However, Rayon did not appear concerned. Without waiting for further discussion, he began walking toward the entrance of the casino. Dorian quickly reacted, calling out for him to wait, but Rayon continued forward without hesitation. Realizing that he had little choice, Dorian hurried after him. Once inside, the casino owner looked at them with a suspicious gaze. He questioned whether they had come from City Hall. Rayon responded confidently, affirming that they had received a report regarding the circulation of illegal funds within the establishment. He then requested access to the owner's financial records, stating that they would need to examine the books for a while as part of their investigation. Hearing this, Dorian leaned closer to Rayon and whispered urgently, questioning what he was doing. He expressed disbelief at how Rayon had suddenly decided to impersonate officials from City Hall without any prior planning. His concern was evident, as such actions could easily lead to serious consequences if exposed. The owner, however, did not appear intimidated. He scoffed at their claim, dismissing it as nonsense. He demanded to see evidence of the alleged illegal activities, questioning what kind of harassment this was if they could not provide any proof. His tone grew increasingly hostile as he challenged their authority. Rayon maintained his composure, responding politely. He acknowledged the owner's frustration but explained that they had simply received a report and were obligated to investigate. He added that their request for cooperation was reasonable under the circumstances and that it would be in the owner's best interest to comply. The owner's expression darkened further. He began to mock them openly, referring to them as foolish brats who dared to speak so boldly. He accused them of taking his position lightly, especially after turning a blind eye when they needed them most. He questioned whether they even understood where they were standing. He then revealed that the casino was backed by the Thieves' Guild, implying that they were under powerful protection. Without giving them any more time to respond, the owner issued an order to his subordinates. He commanded them to beat the intruders without mercy, making it clear that he had no intention of cooperating with their demands. After being beaten by Rayon thoroughly, the casino owner was left with no choice but to kneel in front of Rayon. His earlier arrogance had completely vanished, replaced by fear and submission. His body trembled slightly as he struggled to maintain his composure, clearly shaken by the overwhelming difference in strength. Rayon looked down at him calmly and questioned him about the Thieves' Guild. Beside him, Dorian quietly remarked that at times like this, the young master truly acted recklessly. Despite the situation being under control, there was still a sense of unease about how boldly Rayon handled such matters. After hearing the owner's report, Rayon began to summarize the information. He pointed out that many disappearances had also occurred among the owner's subordinates. The owner quickly nodded in agreement, confirming that quite a few of his people had vanished without explanation. Rayon then pressed further, asking about the circumstances surrounding those disappearances. The owner hesitated for a brief moment before admitting honestly that they did not really know what had happened. According to him, the victims simply vanished suddenly, without any warning. He explained that even in situations where people had been walking together, no one had been able to identify who was taken or how it had happened. It was as though the victims had disappeared right before their eyes, leaving no trace behind. He added that the situation extended beyond just travelers or outsiders. There had been numerous cases where entire families had vanished completely, leaving no belongings or evidence behind. It was as if they had never existed in the first place. Rayon remarked that such information had never been reported to City Hall, expressing his concern over the lack of official awareness. In response, the owner scoffed bitterly, questioning whether those officials even cared about missing person cases. He went on to explain that even when reports were filed, they rarely reached the mayor. There seemed to be an obstruction somewhere within the system, preventing the information from being properly conveyed. Because of this, many people had been living in constant anxiety, unsure of when they might become the next victims. The owner stated firmly that someone was definitely interfering with the reports from within. Rayon acknowledged this, noting that the situation made sense. The fact that a mission request had only been issued after hundreds of people had already disappeared was highly suspicious. It was reasonable to believe that there was an insider within City Hall who was deliberately suppressing information. The thought added another layer of danger to their investigation. The owner then revealed one final detail, lowering his voice slightly as he spoke. According to certain witnesses, there was a strange common factor surrounding the disappearances. Some people claimed that whenever such incidents occurred, they felt an eerie, alien-like presence nearby. It was described as something unnatural, something that did not belong. After gathering all the necessary information, Rayon turned and left the casino without further delay. As they stepped outside, Dorian quickly caught up and called out to him. He asked whether Rayon had intentionally caused trouble with the casino owner in order to gain access to the Thieves' Guild. Rayon confirmed this without hesitation, explaining that they needed to find a way to reach the guild if they wanted reliable information. Those operating at the bottom levels often had a better understanding of what was truly happening. Dorian, however, expressed concern. He questioned whether the Thieves' Guild would even agree to cooperate with them, especially after Rayon had beaten up someone under their protection. The situation could easily escalate if handled improperly. Rayon responded casually, stating that they would deal with that problem when the time came. His relaxed attitude made Dorian uneasy, leaving him with the impression that Rayon might simply resort to force again if necessary. Before Dorian could voice his thoughts further, a loud scream suddenly echoed through the area. Both of them froze momentarily as they recognized the sound. Dorian quickly identified it as a woman's voice, filled with panic and distress. Without wasting a second, Rayon immediately dashed toward the direction of the scream, ordering Dorian to follow him. They arrived at the scene to find a group of men restraining a woman. She struggled desperately against them, pleading for them to hurry and let her go. Her voice was filled with fear as she tried to break free, but the men held her firmly. They appeared frustrated, muttering curses among themselves. One of them complained about how unusually strong she was, noting that even strangling her seemed ineffective. Just as he spoke those words, a sudden impact struck him from behind. A powerful kick landed squarely on his back, sending him crashing to the ground instantly. The force of the blow knocked him out in a single strike. The remaining men barely had time to react before realizing what had happened. Rayon observed the situation carefully and quickly assessed the threat. He noted that these men were not the ones responsible for the larger incident. They did not possess an aura, nor did they demonstrate any advanced abilities. At best, they appeared to be ordinary thugs with minimal training. It was clear to him that they were not connected to the mysterious disappearances they had been investigating. With the immediate danger neutralized, the woman turned toward Dorian with a grateful expression. She thanked him repeatedly for saving her, stating that she had truly believed she was going to die if it had not been for their timely arrival. Dorian, upon seeing her face, appeared momentarily captivated. He responded awkwardly, insisting that it was nothing significant. The woman then turned toward Rayon, offering her thanks as well. She stated that she did not know how she could ever repay such a favor. However, as she spoke, Rayon began to feel something unusual. A strange sensation stirred within him, something that did not align with his usual instincts. He found himself feeling an unexpected urge to comfort her, to reassure her, to pat her head and to tell her that she had done well. The feeling caught him off guard. He immediately questioned whether those thoughts truly belonged to him. He rejected the idea almost instantly. As someone who had lived as an assassin in his past life, such emotions were entirely out of character. His first instinct should have been to assess the situation, not to offer comfort, which made him wary. The woman continued speaking, thanking Rayon again and expressing relief that he had arrived just in time as she had expected. Suddenly, without warning, she lunged forward, attempting to stab him. Her expression twisted as she spoke, thanking him for dying for her. In that instant, blood splattered across the ground. However, it was not Rayon who had been struck. Instead, the woman's hand had been cleanly severed. She let out a piercing scream, collapsing as she clutched the stump in agony. The sudden turn of events shocked the lady, who had not expected such a swift reaction. Rayon stood calmly, his expression unchanged. He stated plainly that it had been the white blood cult after all. The woman groaned in pain, her voice filled with disbelief. She questioned how he had managed to resist the influence, as he should have fallen under the spell like others. Rayon looked at her with a faint smile, replying that it had been quite simple. Sorry for the delay in posting this video, friends. With this chapter now coming to a close, I want to thank each of you for joining us on this adventure. If you're excited to see what unfolds next, let me know in the comments, ask for more chapters, and I'll keep them coming. If you'd like to support the channel and truly be part of our family, consider joining as a member, and don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps our community grow stronger. Until next time, stay tuned.